topic will be CyberMiles Foundation's Decentralization of E-commerce. Hi, Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Michelle.
Oh, hi. Awesome. Let me introduce you. So the topic today, or at this hour, is CyberMiles Foundation's Decentralization of E-commerce. We have Dr. Michael Yuan. Michael Yuan is the chief scientist and co-founder at the CyberMiles Foundation. The CyberMiles project aims to build a new blockchain specifically optimized for e-commerce application. It raised over $30 million USD from 14,000 contributors in 119 countries due to a successful token sale. Dr. Yuan is also the author of an upcoming book, Building Blockchains Apps, from Addison Wesley. Prior to CyberMiles, Dr. Yuan had extensive experience in open source software development and healthcare research. So, do I call you Michael? Is that okay?
Yeah, please
okay.
Call me Michael.
Okay. So, Michael, what is your story?
So my personal story or my story for CyberMiles?
Your story for CyberMiles or your personal story, whatever you want to share.
Oh, well, okay. So, because you want to call me Dr. Michael Yuan, so I would like to verify I'm not a medical doctor, although I do a lot of healthcare research before this. So I have a rather complex background. I have a PhD in astrophysics, and I think I've told this story before. That's by the time I got my PhD, I didn't really want to do research anymore. So my wife told me, since you're good at a computer, why don't you go look for a computer job? And that's during my PhD research. I did a lot of, supercomputing simulation and, stuff like that. So, so I also consider myself good at computers. And so I went out and, I sent my resume around to, the big computer companies that I know, say Microsoft and IBM and all that. And then I find I couldn't get past HR because, people say, where's the relevant degree? Where's the computer science degree? There's you have a PhD in a field that we consider irrelevant. That's my first exposure to the centralized nature of software. That's there's big central companies. You want to work in this field, you go through the gatekeepers, through those companies. And I was upset at the time, and then I thought, could there be a way that is completely merit-based? So I find this a new approach. It's called open source, and of course, open source has existed long before. But my timing was good because that was in the early 2000s when open source was just being commercialized. So I joined the company, and that's we started on this journey of decentralizing software production. And at the time, the big enemy was, of course, Microsoft. And so we fought them, and we had a successful exit, in the space of enterprise software, and got bought by Red Hat at the time. And and went through all this. That's all the battles that we're still fighting today. It's it's fight the big guys and fight the decentralization. And what's really interesting is that I think a month ago, maybe even a couple of weeks ago, I saw on the news that Microsoft is now the number one contributor to open source. And I can still remember vividly, back then, Microsoft was calling us the cancer of software, the scam, the people who's disrupting the status quo. There's really no need for those guys. What they were producing were scams. They were air. It's the same type of argument I think the establishment has always used. When their position is being threatened. So that's really my personal background in technology, and of course I've done other things, like medical research. But what leads me to blockchain was I was working in an investment firm for the past 2 years, and have seen a lot of projects, and we have seen a new way of trying to compete against the big players in what we consider more and more centralized internet space. So that leads to CyberMiles, where we want to build a new kind of network to compete against the market leaders in the space.
So Michael, tell us a little bit about CyberMiles.
Right. So that leads to CyberMiles. Is because when we analyze the e-commerce space, so to speak, that's what we find is it's being more and more centralized. Meaning that the spirit of the internet that comes in the past, that we want everyone would have a voice. As long, I wouldn't say died, but if you look at e-commerce marketplace today, the big players are all building massive networks of buyers and sellers, and there's really no point to be the number 2 marketplace. You have to be the number 1 marketplace, because if you are a buyer or seller, you are only interested in getting on the number 1 marketplace. So that creates enough.
But why do we care? I mean, so people are just buying things online. Why do we care about decentralization? Why do we care if Amazon owns all the market share?
Right. That's well, it doesn't. It is not a problem per se. For the short term, but for the longer term, you would have, if you have a winner-take-all situation, we have all seen what happened with the last election cycle when people blamed Facebook. It's things like that. That's you would have someone who has a strong profit motive. The interest is not aligned with everyone else in the community, who's actually building the network. So spending all this money to build the network in order to extract profits or rent from the network. You would have something like that. I think that is to say the least, that is unhealthy. And to have on a more philosophical level, it's against everything the internet has fought for. That's when people started internet. It was also called a scam. It was also called, because there's JCPenney, there's telephone orders. Why would someone dial a modem in order to click on a website to order stuff? For sure, that user experience is much worse, and that was, that's and for sure that was a scam. We've heard this argument all over again, and by then the argument was also decentralization. We want to fight the big guys, so we want everyone to be able to do this. Everyone wants to do a website. Now we are far away from that vision. So that's where from our point of view, that we want to change the world. We want to disrupt what's being, that's the status quo that's being more and more centralized.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add a little bit, a point there is that I am a big supporter of e-commerce. When e-commerce came out, I think I did consciously choose to purchase things online, from the start. And I think having a centralized place where a few big companies dominate is dangerous because one, it's monopoly plus, and they can attach bad actions to it. Consumers don't have choices or fewer choices. They can disrupt you, right? So, you could be selling something on Amazon and then all of a sudden Amazon could find out where you have the data and find out where you source information, and then they could sell it under the Amazon brand. Like just local mom and dad stores are almost gone, right? I mean, they're not taken out by Amazon, they're taken out by Costco. So maybe, that's why decentralization of e-commerce is important.
Yeah, that's, I completely agree. I think the society moves in a way that is spiral upwards. We cannot just get rid of the e-commerce big players and go back to the good old days of mom and pop stores. I think that path is blocked, that we can't roll back history. So we need to find a new way for small business to flourish. That's what we want to do. We want to build a new type of network.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So how would e-commerce be different than eBay or verticals such as PayPal? Like how do you see e-commerce? How do you see a decentralized e-commerce?
Right. So that goes to the business strategy or the game theory of what, we all know what number one player would do. The number one player would grow its network because they can seek rent from the network, right? It would never decentralize itself. However, from the number 2 to number 100 or to number 1,000, the best strategy forward is to collaborate. So that we all pull together our customer information to have the same kind of profile or prediction power that Amazon or eBay has, and then to have the same kind of identity services. So to pull the information together is a powerful way to building another network that can rival the number one. However, up until this point, there's no way to do it, because people don't trust each other. The number two to number 1,000 players, there's no way in a human legal sense that's to be able to write a contract that for them to collaborate and then distribute the profits, fairly. I think that's a job that's reserved for computers. And before blockchain was prevalent, before cryptocurrency was prevalent, in fact, there's no way to actually do this. There's you can't write a legal contract complex enough for those people to collaborate. So that's where we see what the new network will be shaped like is driven by technology, driven by smart contracts on the blockchains. And so people, the interest of people was automatically protected by code, not by the law. Of course, it's in the end, it was backed by the law, but it's for the day-to-day purposes, it's protected by the code. And then we'll be able to build a collaborative network that's from the surface of it, it acts like a big network, like the one Amazon built. But individually, the network itself makes no profits. The profit all goes to the individual participants on the network, and the network itself would be worth a lot of money.
So for newer community, Michael, can you explain a little bit what smart contracts are first, before you talk about the designing of one and how they're different from the other one? Like, what are smart contracts and how do they work? Like, what are the fundamental elements of smart contracts? Let's just break it down.
Right. So smart contract is really, what people like to think is a business contract that's written in code. So it's so in a human society, there's all kinds of contracts, and it was interpreted and enforced by the humans, right? But for smart contract, it was something that's when you sign the contract, it's very clear what's in it because it's written in code. If you understand it, you will be able to see it. So one of the good example, which is an insurance contract, right? Today, if I buy some kind of insurance that says we're going to pay X if you get cancer, and if I go to the hospital and get diagnosed with cancer, I have to argue with the insurance company and send all kinds of documentation to prove that I actually have cancer, so that you guys pay me. And but for smart contract like this, you would not have to do this because this was written. What's the condition of the diagnosis and what's the condition of payout was clearly laid out on the contract, and the insurance company's money is already in the escrow account. So as soon as I go to the hospital and get a diagnosis and the blockchain confirms that this person has this diagnosis, the smart contract will automatically execute it and the money is sent to my account. There's no interaction with the human. There's no interpretation of the contract. The computers who by running the code interpret this for us. That's what I consider one of the use cases of smart contract anyway. As you can see, this can be applied everywhere in commerce, right? The supplier purchaser agreement. There's thousands of agreements that if you're on e-commerce website, there's thousands of agreements. And the escrow account, there's everything on the supply chain and on the buyer and the seller side. So there are a lot of things that we can codify into smart contracts and do not really have to have customer service to explain this to people, right? That's where we see. And also the distribution of profits, right? If we build a collaborative network, that how my contribution is computed and how much profit should I get from the network's income. That can all be written into smart contracts instead of having a contract that's being later argued by lawyers, right? That's where we see this a powerful way of building collaborative network because everyone agrees what the condition is when they join.
Okay, let me just paraphrase that. So a smart contract are like contracts that have conditions in them already and escrows if goods are exchanged, so that when it's executed by the machine, after the condition is filled, for example, someone received their goods, then the funds will be released automatically. Is that kind of correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and then so with CyberMile, you guys are designing your smart contracts differently from other companies, right?
Right. So we are designing a new smart contract platform, meaning that we have a new way of writing smart contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it okay to be a little technical and explain, what's there's some subtle differences between us and
Yeah, no,
the Ethereum?
that's fine because I think I like technical stuff and I like more specific things. So I think I think the community at Stanford is I think it will be cool with hearing a lot of the more of the technical differences.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, it's so from the start, we have a very different worldview than Ethereum because I think Ethereum pioneered the concept of smart contracts. They didn't invent it, but they are the first large scale implementation of it.
Mm-hmm.
But their notion is the world's computer. The world needs one blockchain. It's called Ethereum, and all the world's smart contracts should be run on the computer called Ethereum, which is fine. That's when they develop this technology. I think this is a vision that they have. However, from years of enterprise software development and research software development, that we understand all software needs optimization. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all generic software that can be used for business. So it's so for us, we have a very different worldview. We envision the world has thousands of blockchains. Each of them have what we call application level protocols. So the Ethereum would be a general protocol, and they provide what they call a Turing complete virtual machine that can run any smart contract that computer can execute. However, it also creates a problem of not being optimized. As you can see, it's the writing of smart contract on Ethereum is very complex, and it's being hacked all the time. Ethereum founder himself, there's multiple founders of Ethereum, own smart contract has been hacked and has lost hundreds of millions of dollars. I think none of this is acceptable in the commerce world. That people look at this and say, "What a joke." That's of course, I believe that they are very technical, capable people, and they are improving. However, their vision of a world of a one-size-fits-all and a generic smart contract making their job much harder. So what we want to do is do application-specific smart contracts, meaning that in e-commerce, you have many, many use cases that you can just hard code or can be templated into smart contract. So we have things like the rules engine. You can have complex rules. How do you evaluate them? You don't necessarily have to write code to evaluate them. You can just write rules, right? And you have business processes. Those are mature technology that have been used in enterprise middleware for the past 10 years. And whether they can be used as a say general computing platform, it's they're probably not a fit. They're probably too heavyweight, but they're ideally suited for writing business contracts related to e-commerce. So that's the vision. The technology vision of CyberMiles is to build on top of what Ethereum has done, and then expand the work that they have to do to make the smart contract writing much more friendly to business writers.
Awesome. That sounds very interesting and valuable. Tell us about using modern DPoS consensus engine like Tendermint instead of using the Ethereum blockchain network. So what do you like about Tendermint and using the DPoS consensus?
Right. Okay. So let me explain a little. So Tendermint is the open source technology that we choose to power our own blockchain. It's a blockchain framework.
Okay.
And it by itself does not have DPoS. It's a technology to reach consensus. It's not so DPoS is how do you select people who reach those consensus. Mm-hmm. And on top of Tendermint, there's a project called Cosmos. And they were building a network of blockchains, and I just want to clarify that DPoS is one of the Cosmos, major innovation points, and this is also what we choose to adopt. And what it does is, if you look at human society, it's if you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's what they use is proof of work, POW. That ensures the safety of their blockchain, right? That's so for people to attack them, they have to come up with a work, which is very expensive, and then make it less likely for people to attack them. People would just join them instead of attacking them, because it's more profitable to just become miner instead of attacking the network. That's their idea.
Yeah.
But the work is tremendous. There's tremendous amount of meaningless work you have to perform there. So that makes the blockchain very inefficient, very energy hungry, and all that. So most new generation of blockchains use the idea of proof of stake. Proof of stake meaning that I don't prove my worth to the network by doing work. I prove my worth to the network by holding coins. Meaning, that's because I hold more coins on the network, I have more stake in the game. I'm less likely to attack the network.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to attack the network, you would have to buy the coins, which also makes it more economically feasible to join the network instead of attacking it. So that's called POS. And the DPoS is a step up from POS, because if you ask all the network participants to participate in the consensus process, most people will not have the technical expertise or the will to do that. So DPoS is very much like evolution from direct democracy to the representative democracy.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having everybody, every coin holders participate in the consensus process, you have them elect representatives like known as validators, elect a Congress, and let Congress do the everyday job of running the consensus. And the key benefit of this is it becomes much more efficient, because you don't have to reach the consensus of the whole network. You just need to reach the consensus of the Congress,
Mm-hmm.
which consists maybe 100, 200 nodes, and those nodes can be supercomputer nodes, right? So the throughput and the performance of the network can be orders of magnitude better than either POW or POS networks.
Okay.
And it can also provide the necessary security, which what we believe it would. Yeah. So.
Okay, and why do you decide to partition your network to deploy multiple public domains, each for a specific purpose?
Well, that's so for us really is we want to be the e-commerce domain, right? That's we don't necessarily we envision a future where there's many special purpose networks that each for domain, but we want to be the e-commerce.
Yeah. Okay. And then also, it sounds like you're creating a full stack of enterprise support software. What are they?
Well, so it's so we just talk about the rules engine, the business process engine, and all that. The challenge, those software has existed. Those are mature enterprise software that has existed for the past 10 years, right? What we want is to integrate into the blockchain paradigm, and there's lots of research and development work that is still going on. That's so we are looking forward to launch our test network in a month or two, and then to have our mainnets go online either in the second half of this year.
Okay, awesome.
So we are very heavy on research development.
I know you spoke a little bit about your rules engine, your business process manager. I mean, are there any special items or elements that you would like to mention?
Well, that's those are really our biggest items on our plate. Is to integrate those into the blockchain virtual machine, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So that's but of course, there are lots of other things that we want to do from the research development point of view, but I think we have to take one step at a time, and we have to do what we said on our white paper, and accomplish those within a relatively short time frame. That's several months is really short for software development time frame. If you think about that.
Yeah, no, that's true. And can I ask you about how do you design your distributed database? And then what are some exciting excitement that you have in terms of your new virtual machine?
Right. So the in terms of the distributed database design, what we have really is because there's always a concept of what should be recorded on the blockchain and what should be off-chain. Because what's on the blockchain is expensive, it needs to reach consensus, and also it's transparent. Everybody can be able to see it. So there's has been a huge debate in terms of what should be on the blockchain and what should be accessory data that are off the blockchain. So we are creating a distributed database that's for the specific purpose of storing encrypted data off the blockchain. So for instance, it's, while we are doing e-commerce, but you can imagine a lot of data that you don't want to be on the blockchain. So for instance, people's medical records. you probably don't want them to be on blockchains, but you want some way to verify that this medical record does belong to someone. So you want it to be encrypted and stored in a database somewhere, and then to have the hash or to have a key on the blockchain that can go back in time to verify its authenticity, right? So things like that. There's lots of interactions that we have to design, but the in terms of the decentralized database technology itself, it's pretty mature, and there are lots of them out there. That's in recent years when as development of big data has really matured. You have many choices. That's I think the one we mentioned in our white paper is Cassandra, but there's many others. So we are actively evaluating those technologies and try to integrate them with the on-chain process that we have with our virtual machine. So we would love technology experts in your audience, especially ones with say the virtual machine experience, someone who has designed the Java virtual machine or implemented Java virtual machine, or the WebAssembly virtual machine, things of that nature that we would love, to have technically oriented people to join us, either, critique our software, find bugs, or, work with us in our open source projects.
All right, awesome. I think Michael is looking for people because he has a lot of jobs. And I just wanted to clarify a few things. So you're saying that, from a technology perspective, there is a public ledger or blockchain database, and some information may not be the most desirable on these little blocks, because they might have sensitive data like medical or payments, or your birth date, that you may want it to put somewhere else, like off chain, but you also would like the distributed ledger or the public blockchain to verify that, and work with the off chain database to verify that, so it could move off chain and on chain. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the idea. It's a one-way encryption or the hash, right? You have something that is off, but you want something on-chain to have a record of it. That's to say this happened on that day, right? And the hash is this, so you can't go back to change things on the off-chain database, right? But you can't directly see it from data on the chain. You cannot go back to find out what that data is. You would have to have access permission in order to actually access that data.
Yeah. So there's permission as well. Awesome. I was just reminded of the mesh. The mesh network. I would think that one day that would be really cool if we can incorporate blockchain somehow with mesh network. So that even if we don't have the internet, we can still access some of these data.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to that. But for now, let's talk a little bit about your token sale process. So why did you decide to do a token sale?
What we consider one of the major innovations of this whole blockchain is the ability to issue cryptocurrency and do token sale.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because this collaborative network that I just described isn't really new. There's a lot of people think they can do it in a nonprofit way. So I live in Austin, Texas, and if people remember, the city banned Uber, a couple months ago, and then a state legislature reversed it. However, during those couple months, there are nonprofit organizations in Austin who wants to replace the ride-sharing program and say, that's we're going to just create a nonprofit, directly link drivers and riders. Why do we need Uber, right? Things like that make sense. However, when Uber come back, they immediately dominate the market again because they can afford to spend money to jumpstart the network. It costs money to jumpstart the network. That's a valuable lesson. Nonprofit would never be able to do that, or nonprofit without money would never be able to do that. So, that's for us. Raising money is an essential part of the network building. And you can also see it from the Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin started in 2009. The people who want Bitcoin price to go up are really the miners, people who hold Bitcoins, right? It takes 9 years for them to convince the larger part of the society that Bitcoin actually has some value. It's not completely zero, right? It's a network effect that has been painstakingly built for 9 years. But with ICO, what we have seen really interesting is that our investors become our biggest evangelists, right? There's programmers, there's marketing people, there's lots of people who invested in our token sale, and they become our biggest advocates. They work for us for free. That's because they have vested interest in the community. So we thought the network building aspect is the most important aspect of the token sale. That's we get people a stake in the game, and they are interested, and they want to promote it. And also we have the necessary funding to jumpstart the network.
Yeah.
That's my rationale.
Yeah, so funding and two is community. So do you enjoy the token sale process?
Yes, I did. I mean, this is although there's regulations, so we won't be able to raise money from China or the United States. Mm-hmm. Those are the two biggest centralized power players. It's not even that they disallow it. It's just the uncertainty. That's the uncertainty of the regulation has created. I wish the regulation in the United States has been more clear. It's just straight out and say it's a security, and we can register. That'd be fine. But it's vague. So that's so we decide not to raise money from those two countries. But but other than that, we have really enjoyed it because there's a lot of people who invested have become good friends. We've been to places I've never otherwise been to, like Vietnam or Indonesia, and places like that. I made friends there, and so it was a great experience.
Yeah, I heard that. It's very interesting in terms of the token sale because I heard that the entire world is involved, and in countries that you may not be significant, right? So people say that Philippines, so some of these countries are not considered technology emerging countries, and yet they participate so heavily in token sales, right? So it's
right.
Super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a way for them as well is to disrupt the status quo, right? In our token sale, we have 8 ETH contribution from Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know who did it, but that's
wow.
Someone who passed the KYC. By the way, that's the citizen of Afghanistan has contributed 8 ETH.
Wow,
I never would say.
Wow, that's amazing. And what's your aha moment? Like when, of course, when you start a token sale, you're like, oh my gosh, you have to write a white paper, you have a website, you need to figure out your token economics, and you have marketing, and you have to go to all these conferences. But there gotta be one moment where you go, uh-huh.
Right. So for me, as a technical person, is one of our contributors in Australia called me and said, I really like your vision. I like your white paper, so I invested. Mm-hmm. However, when I look at your software, I feel like you guys could do better. Can I contribute?
Wow.
To your open source effort so that I can protect my investment?
I'll give you some money, but I would like to contribute. That's awesome.
Exactly. So I work for you. I give you money, and I would like to work for you for free. That's as my career as an investor, only for a couple of years. We never did this to entrepreneur. We were always the money guy. We were always the guy who orders people around. But I feel humbled. I feel that's the kind of investors that we have in the token sale. I find it's I would say that's my aha moment. That's the network effect right there.
Yeah. How do you guys let people know about your community? Like, how do you grow your community, and how do you touch your community?
Right. So we as most token sales, our biggest communities are in Telegram. That's just seems to be where the action is. That's we keep in touch with them by releasing regular updates in terms of development, and there's lots of news that's coming out, right? There's in terms of product developments and in terms of business partnership, and we hope there'll be a lot more news when our mainnet comes online. And and we become that's when people can actually use our blockchain and actually see for themselves. That's our vision of the future of e-commerce and future of smart contract, to be frank.
Yeah. I have asked you about the community and the community member really being impressed by your project before, and you told us a story about someone not just giving you guys money, but also offering his expertise in coding to help with the open source project. Is there another similar story?
Well, yeah, there's people who help us with marketing, for instance, right? There's yeah, that's we have investors contacting us all the time and want to help out, right? There's and by the way, I've seen this in other projects as well. I've seen high-profile projects where has very competent programmers, and when I ask them, where did you get all those programmers? They say, a lot of our investors. It's really funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so is there a wisdom that you would want to share with the community at Stanford and also at large, either about CyberMile as a decentralization of e-commerce or, new companies doing a token sale? Like, what is your advice for them?
Right. Well, I think token sales has become more and more regulated. So it's the barrier has gone up. That's as evident from the congressional hearing today from SEC and that's the other government agencies. But I think that's overall it's good news because I think it's super unhealthy for the price to go wildly up and down. That's when you think about it. That's for the big cryptocurrencies. We want some stability in the market so that we can focus on the things that we actually want to do instead of speculating all the time, right? That's my hope for the market. But for the entrepreneurs who wants to do a token sale, that I think this is this definitely is a new way of raising money. Although the quick riches might we might be too late for the quick riches. We are too late for the quick riches. But I think a more regulated market and there's a new way to go outside of the venture capital world and to go outside of the IPO world to be able to raise money and realize your vision and really disrupt those guys, because right now you can go to the society and directly appeal to people to build a network instead of having to convince a bunch of VCs to give you money to build a network. I think that's a very different dynamic and a very different thinking. So I think I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, usually money is controlled by a few men at in Palo Alto where we live, on Sand Hill, and most of the investment, except for a few, don't do well. But they don't really invest in women. They don't invest in minorities. So. All of a sudden, this whole thing is global, and there's people starting raising money all over the world, right? I mean, it's completely different. I mean, it's amazing. And, and community is important now, right? Because before it was, one or two people like in a room, and now we're basically talk to everyone. So yeah, I'm excited about this, and I'm kind of excited for the women out there who are, who wanted to make a difference in the world, who wanted to build their products and market and and code and and all that stuff. I mean, I feel like for once there's some kind of level ground, right? And
yes.
And that's exciting.
Absolutely, this is what happens in a disruption, right, or in a revolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's people on the fringe raise up, right? That's although it's really hard to 10 years from now what it be, because internet is the same way, right? Internet was supposed to give power to the people, but now it's become very centralized. But
Yeah.
now there's a new thing. Let's give power to the people. That's I think this circle can go round and around, and every time it's going to get a little better. I wouldn't say the thousands of years of prejudice gonna be removed by blockchain. I don't think that necessarily happens, but I think it's going to be at least changing in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I mean, we look at history.
Yeah,
Discrimination seems to be very, very slow, and there's so much complexity, right? I mean, you have not just gender, you have minority, and you have minority under gender, you have sexual preferences, and, and religion, and, it just seems to be a lot, and there seems to be a lot of fear, right? And I feel like now, I mean, I'm talking to people in Alaska, I'm talking to people all over the world, and it seems like we are bringing people closer, right? And sometimes we may say stupid things. Then we're like, don't ask me about igloos, right? Because, that's a stereotype. I'm like, okay, thanks for telling me, because, I just want to make sure that is a stereotype, right? So, I mean, are there, and then you can learn that there's penguins in South Africa, and I think that's why coming together is important, is so that we can communicate, so that we can build community, right? And that's about giving and taking, and learning and letting go, right? And not shaming. So yeah, I'm super, super excited, and it's just really awesome talking to you and learning, more about the decentralization of e-commerce, and also, how, you guys did the token sale.
absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk on your show. That's we're always looking for great programmers and all kinds of that's in your audience. That's anyone who's interested in participating in this revolution, please contact me.
Okay, how do people reach you, Michael?
Right, it's just Michael, Micheal at CyberMiles, CYBERMILE.io.
Okay, awesome. So the website is cybermiles.io. And
Yes,
it is about the decentralization of e-commerce. And, that was an awesome talk. And thanks for sharing your knowledge with the community and talking with us today.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye bye.